immediate sepsis for my patient. That's why. Sometimes knowing why will help you understand what. What if I have a fracture in the hip? Why not? Well, the hip is the anchor point. We're pulling on here and on here that way. So if there's a break here or a break here, it will worsen that by putting pressure on it. Same goes to the knee. The knee is a very complicated joint. So if there's damage to the knee, then we're going to pull on that complicated joint. We can do even more tissue damage. So it's imperative that we isolate this as the only injury. First thing I do before I apply traction is check something. What am I checking?
CSM.
Pulse, motor, and sensory. Now, this is designed to help control bleeding. How is it that this helps control bleeding? Can bones bleed?
Yes.
They can. Where is your blood produced? In your
Vulnerable.
long bones, and your femur is one of the biggest producers of red blood cells in your body. So if I break that, all that blood and all of that blood flow through that bone is now being released into the compartments of the muscular structure. And so by taking those two loose ends and correcting them by reducing the fracture, I help to block a large part of that blood from coming out into this into these compartments of the muscles. All right, so once I've identified that my patient is indeed a mid-shaft femur fracture that's isolated, I'm going to have my partner stabilize the injury. That's the first thing we have to do is manual stabilization right away. So Erin's going to come up here and she's going to grab Lynette's boot and she's going to pull that way. Patient's going to feel a lot of pain, and then once we get that pressure off, at that point, it's going to relax a little bit. It won't hurt quite so bad. Now, Erin can't let go, so keep pulling. If she lets up, you tell me if she fails immediately. There it is. We cannot ever let go. What happens if we let go once we pull tension? That bone immediately goes right back through and creates another tunnel of displaced, tearing, nerve, and blood vessel damage. Okay, meanwhile, I'll apply this device. Now, the first thing I apply is the ischial strap. I call it the Han Solo gun belt because it looks like a little gunslinger's belt. The way this goes is I will take the male or the tang end and I'm going to pass it underneath the back of the knee. What do you call that space? In your airway, that's that space. Popliteal. The popliteal arch or popliteal arch. I don't know what we're saying. Next thing I have to do is get this thing seated in the perineum. There's a couple ways to do this. The perineum is, try to keep your eyes on appropriate areas, but the space for me as a man is the space between my testicles and my leg. If I put this in correctly, I can lift myself up off the ground and I don't have any problem. Giggle, giggle. I'm a human being, okay, not just a set. That's it. And this is why I bring this point. People don't like to get up into this area, and they feel uncomfortable. But if I don't seat this firmly, then what will happen is A, I could get genitalia in there and crush, or B, when I go to pull tension, I will lose a whole bunch of tension as this thing finally makes its way up into the perineum. So let me show you how to do this quick and dirty. We go straight under the knee without moving the leg at all. Keep the leg down low. Nice and low. Straight back. Pass that through. I'll take this gun belt side here, and I just slide it like this. And then I'm going to set this thing right about where the bone of her hip is. I'm going to put this down against the leg, especially on a male patient, but on a female this can pinch stuff too. So put this against the leg and just slide it up the inside of the leg until it gets right up into the perineum. I'm going to manually adjust this to about so. And now I've got this seated firmly right where it belongs, okay? And nothing should be in the way. Next thing I will do is apply this thing. It looks very complicated, but don't fret. It's not as bad as it looks. It's a stirrup. There's a couple ways you can do this. My preference is to have the patient's foot step through it like you would on a stirrup on a horse through this soft area here. So I make this triangle. And working around Erin's hands, we're just going to step her foot through. Erin, you're going to become invisible for me for a second, okay? So just move over that way a little bit. Erin's still holding this, but I want you to be able to see what I'm doing. We step right through like so. We're going to tuck this pad of Velcro around the ankle. It just goes around the ankle like that. The green tab just takes the stirrup in up against the bottom of the foot. What I should have is a yellow and a red tab sticking off. The yellow tab is actually a loop, and that loop needs to be extended out as far as I can get it. Okay, go ahead and pull traction for me still. And then realize you would not have let go. Next thing I need to do is measure. So what I'll do is, coming across from the gun belt piece here to the opposite side, I'm going to place this black segment here at the bottom of her hip, or I'm sorry, of her foot. From straight across, I can see that the nearest segment here is 2 notches down like that. And then I'll come back over to the patient's affected side. Watch your legs there. I just tuck this in like so. And then I'm going to put this little dart in right through the yellow loop. Take out the slack a bit so that this thing kind of holds itself in position. This, if I pull tension, will cause it to bow out a little bit. So these help to keep it right up against the leg. You have 3 colors, red, yellow, and green. The manufacturer says put them in the order of a stoplight. I didn't know what order the stoplights were. I'm not that observant. And this is how I learned what order a stoplight was. I always assumed green was on top for some reason. But here's the thing. These are both the same size, so it doesn't really matter. This is a big one. Where on the leg do you suppose the biggest strap goes? The biggest part of the leg. So it's just common sense. You don't really need to color code them. I'll slip this soft end through.
Just as a quick side note, ladies, we are going to give you a little break. The carpet and the Velcro are going to mess with you when you go ahead and do this practical. We understand it. You maybe have a hard slide. We're forgiving on that part.
In other words, the male end here hangs up, so try not to let that get on the carpet. Red's going to come up here nice and high. I don't want to cover the wound site. The wound site needs to be exposed. Notice I'm not moving her leg at all. The manufacturer says you can go on top of the knee with the strap, although traditionally we don't cover the knee. And so my recommendation to you would simply be just to not cover the knee if you can get away with it. And you see here, I'm not on her kneecap. There's where the wound site is. We'll come down here.